Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Future Friday, we're going to talk about jobs versus artificial intelligence, the biggest threat that we face that we have no idea about. So let's dive right into it. Now, what exactly is AI? Well, it's just a tool. Don't think too much about into it. Don't think it's like, oh, this is a artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. No, it's a combination of things. And at the end of the day, it's a tool. It does something for you. For example, AI that is in your smartphone camera detects the object and figures out the outline, and it does things for you, like blur it out, sharpen the selected area, masked area, whatever have you. That's the whole point. AI is a tool that does things for you. Now, how does AI is made? Like, what exactly is the core component of AI? Two core components: hardware and software. Now, you could have a scenario where you have general purpose hardware trying to run a AI, or you could have a dedicated hardware built for AI running that. That would be the hardware department. What about the software? Now, software could be combination of things. For example, it could be machine learning, complex algorithms, lookup table, things of that nature. Like, it will have whole sort of hululu that I have no idea and don't even try to understand it. It's like voodoo magic to me. So these two things go into it and give you AI. AI is a tool. Now, what this tool is supposed to do then to gain the ability to classify itself as AI, self-learning based on input. What does that mean? That simply means you point your camera to something, let's say a person. You're not going to tell it, you are looking at a person, please select his background. You're not going to say that. AI has to do that themselves. That's very easy. It's easy for human because we have this amazing brain, but for AI, it's like, what the hell I'm looking at? Okay, it does not make any sense. It's just some pixel with some numbers, and it's basically blind. Even though it has camera, it's blind. So it has to actually understand it. So which call learning, basically study the material and figure it out. It's like, okay, this looks like there are two black holes surrounded by some oval that is looking white. That means those are eyes. It will try to decode things that nature, then it will figure out the proportion, all that jazz, in order to figure out what the hell it's looking at. That's just the input part. That's just the learning part. That's the first step. Then it must have reasoning, meaning it has to guess. It has to use its previous experience, meaning machine learning, that when you are talking about training the data set, that's what they have to. It must basically figure out reasonable assumptions of that, meaning most likely I'm looking at a person. It cannot be like, this person looks like for you and me this is a person, and for AI it's like banana has happened. So you have to understand, it must have reasoning. It has to be logical. Even if it's failing to make absolute prediction, it has to be reasonable enough, meaning if, for example, let's say you're a self-driving AI driving car on the road, and it sees something on the road, something painted that does not make any sense. It has to be reasonable enough to be like, bro, I'm a car, I'm moving, and there is this Newton guy that created some laws, who knows, and if I don't if I get injured, the person inside me will be injured. So what do? I think I should be cautious and slow down. Let's just go, let's use better sensors and all that, or trigger alert for driver to take over. So you get that point. It must be reasonable even with an incomplete data set. Solve problem based on data input. Now, what does solving problem means? That's you designed it. For example, a self-driving car, it's supposed to drive here. Again, it's a continuous problem solving, like how much steering input, how much accelerator input, how much brake pedal action, all that jazz it has to do. And it has to do, some long-term guesswork also, meaning it can study the GPS map and be like, hey, Google is saying there is some traffic jam in this area. I can go this longer route, but should I take that detour or not take that detour? It has to do that. Solving problem. And if you do these all three things, first learn what the hell you're looking at. Second, use reasonable reasoning. Then third, solve problem, what you're supposed to do. Then you are at AI. This is what AI does. Now, if possible, learning and becoming more efficient should be possible with repetitive tasks. This is what we go into deep learning, meaning it actually modifies itself in order to become more efficient. Meaning the first photo that you will take with an AI chip will take, let's say, 1 second to process the background. Second will take half millisecond. It can be that efficient. That's the whole point of it. It improves over time. Now, that's an added step. Nowadays, we have advanced processors that can do that, but back in the day, it was very difficult. But now we can do that. But the core three things remains the same: learn, reason, and solve problem. Hopefully, grow with it. So that's what we are talking about. It's a tool that does all three things. So what are the vectors? Like, when it will become an issue for, let's say, job? When it will reach a point where it's like no more jobs? Well, it reaches a point where its self-improvement speed becomes useful. For example, if you have ever crossed any university, institute, whatever have you, that moment you would have felt like a god. You're like, bro, I know everything. I'm gonna get this job and I'm gonna rock into it. And majority of you would have got a cruel bitch slap, and you would have been like, yeah, I don't know anything. And company would be like, yeah, that's why we give you 1 month training or 6 month training. There is a period where every company, every corporation knows that you cannot just come come into it and you're like, voila, I'm going to be awesome. It's going to take time. So that will classify as self-improvement time, meaning if company, let's say a call center company, is like, bro, we hire people and we give them 1 month training, and let's say there is a server company that is selling them AI. The AI will be say, hey, give us 1 month of call data, then we can process and train the system. Company will like, okay, that's a good point. If this company said, no, give us 1 year data, then you're like, nah. Time is also a very critical aspect. Then we come to cost of ownership, meaning how expensive is these puppies, meaning employee has a cost. The person's salary, the person's PF account, the person's insurance, the person's bathroom, the person's electrical, the person's chair, the person's keyboard, mouse, everything. All of this has a cost. So that cost would be X. The cost of ownership of this AI system should be close to that or lower than that. Then we come to the physical size of AI. Now, you may be like, why the heck that matters? Well, that matters because physical space is limited. Let's say in a big office building, you can have 1,500 call center staff. That's good, but here's the deal. To do a approximate job where there's like the person on the other end cannot tell whether it's talking to an AI or to a person, that requires a server room. And that server, even though it's huge, it can only process 10 calls simultaneously. At that point in time, you're like, bro, I don't have enough space for it. So physical size does matter. You cannot be like, oh, let's just put 10,000 servers. Like if it takes giga centers from data, let's say Google and all that, just to do call center handling, you're like, no, that's not going to happen. So physical size of AI also matters. Then we come to the power draw aspect of it, because again, these things will be running 24/7 and power is something that could get expensive. So companies are very mindful of it. All of that will go against the cost of employee, because you have to understand, it seems to run on electricity is a very important thing. Electricity cost is important, and employee has a cost. Now you may be like, let's say a call center that runs 24/7 will have 3 shifts. So how much money they are spending? All of that will go into an equation. If vectors cross over to phase of AI, company will do into AI system, and company have to do that. You may be like, why the heck company has to fire? Again, this is one of those things you think there is ruler is free of ruler. No, there is always somebody above you. So for example, CEO would be like, dude, I'm liable, like actually legally liable to stockholders. So stockholder is like, bro, you're not increasing profit. You have to let go of these people and put a AI system there. Like literally stockholders can literally ask that, not ask that, like suggest that, like you actually have to do it. So you have to understand, like be mindful. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple. So be very mindful. The moment these vectors cross over, done. Your jobs will be like Thanos snapped out of existence. So why does this whole idea matters at all? Well, you have to understand, there is no such thing as business. Business is one thing that cannot exist without jobs. Basically, even if you have, let's say, a small shop, medium-sized shop, you will have some helpers. Those helpers are doing a job in your business. That's how it works. Now, this is an issue in India, maybe not everywhere else. I hope it's not anywhere else. Is that government jobs, like Indians, like especially poor middle class or lower middle class, they are really addicted to government jobs. It's like government job. Yes, the government cannot create jobs. Government, literally, Soviet Union tried that. It does not work. It does not work. Venezuela tried that. It does not work. China tried that. It does not work. You cannot do that. Like China recently had that. It's like China is sponsoring this football treatment, except actual football team. So it's one of those things. Government cannot create jobs. Again, government jobs are important. There are certain things they have to do, but those are what we call periphery, auxiliary services. It cannot be the core system. So you create businesses, business creates jobs, and everybody gets employed. Now, more and more jobs will be AI driven. Now, that may not sound as bad, because the first thing people will say, oh, that will create new jobs. Here's the problem. Here's where people get carried away and get full cuckoo, is that yes, it will create new jobs, but it will not create the same number of jobs. For example, driving. Now, here's the many Indians immigrated to other countries, for example, Canada and USA, and many of them did very basic job. What? Driving cars. And again, they were not very smart. They were not very latest and greatest. They were not the PhD holders or CEOs of that. But what they did is they climbed above from poverty using a basic job. Then their children did a little bit better, climbed from a very basic job to really good job, then from really good job to CEOs. So that's how it happens. You start from very bottom and then you climb your way up. Now, if you remove whole basic jobs, like whole category of basic jobs, like driver, which employs surprisingly large amount of human population, like idiotically large amount of human population is employed by that system. If that just goes away, poof, you're like, oh, there will be new jobs. Here's the deal. There will be very few jobs. Otherwise, the replacement would not have happened. For example, real world, Amazon displaced, ended many small to medium scale businesses, many even large scale. But here's the deal. If you take the cost of that loss, like how many jobs were poofed out of existence, that number would be exponentially larger than the number of people Amazon employs. It always would be, otherwise Amazon would not have been cheaper. So that's the whole point. AI will create new jobs, that's true, but it will not create enough jobs. For example, it will, let's say, remove 5 million driving jobs. Awesome. Nobody wants to drive. Like, again, rich people will say that nobody likes driving because they don't like it. Other people are like, dude, it's a very basic work, it does pay, but I enjoy it. Like, there are many people who enjoy driving. So they're like, bro, like all that job gone. Like, how many new jobs? Yeah, for 50 million jobs they pushed, it will be barely 1 million. Barely. So that's the whole point. There will be new jobs, but they will be very far and far between. Otherwise, the AI shift would not have happened. If the crossover happens, that fundamentally means you can do a lot more work with very few people. And job complexity will become extreme. For example, driving is a very important thing because if you can't do anything, let's say just you are not that smart. Let's say you are dumb as me. What the hell am I going to do? I'm not very smart enough, whereas you can train me to be a doctor. It's not going to happen. You can't train me to be an engineer. That's not going to happen. Avionics, I don't even understand. Computer programming. I actually did coding and I still don't understand it. It's black magic to me. Like, I actually worked in a game industry. Worked in games like, small games like Halo, Spider-Man, all that jazz. Still have no idea how the heck game engine works. Like, it's a freaking black magic. I looked into it. So, like, if you show me this, it's like my brain is like, what the hell is this? Like, if you show me this math function, my brain is like, what the hell is this? And here's the deal. This is the easy step. What future will hold to handle those sort of situations would be exponentially more complex. Like, driving, any Tom, Dick, Harry can do. And here's the interesting, a PhD holder can also do driving, but here's the deal. This job only a PhD holder can do. That's the bad part of it. That's why the job market will go poof out of existence. Yes, there will be new jobs. Yes, there will be new job profiles that we never have thought of. That there will be like 15, 16. Like, how many people Twitter employs versus how many people a taxi company employs. Taxi employs far more people. How many employees are there in, like, let's say, Google versus how many people are there in banking sector? A lot of that. And imagine whole banking sector suddenly switches to AI systems. Poof. This is a poof. The amount of employee that would be laid off versus the amount of new employee that would be needed to maintain these AI systems would be exponentially mismatched. 1 to 50. And again, removing this sort of low-end job is always a bad idea because every time it's like nobody wants to do that. Here's the deal. That's the most guaranteed way to crawl out of poverty. Why do you think China literally went from nothing to a world power? Because they had people doing jobs that nobody wanted to do, but that's how they crawled out of poverty. You have to have low-end jobs. And again, if you automate all of those low-end jobs, what the hell you are left with? You are left with very high-end jobs which only few people can do. Now you created a scenario where your whole middle class and lower class, they have nothing to do. That's dangerous. That's the whole point. That's why it's so dangerous. Now let's come to the cruel aspect of it. The limits. Now, one thing you have to understand, many hippies and this modern culture creates this illusion that nature is kind. Nature is not kind. Nature is so brutal that it will make every bad thing we human did, every bad thing will look like bitch place. Like bitch place. Like every criminal that you can think of, nature is like, that's a criminal. That's a Tuesday for us, bro. Like, if you think humans did bad things to each other, figure out what happens then to ant colonies. That's just one animal in species. There are many other things that I'm gonna, like, eating babies, like, extreme thing. For natural thing is like, bro, that's Tuesday. So this is one thing you have to understand. There are many laws of nature that are cruel beyond belief. And we always try to, like, shove it aside, but it's a law. You can't, beat it. So what are these laws that I'm talking about? I'm talking about Pareto distribution. Now, this puppy is the most horrifying thing to ever come into my consciousness. It's simply because it simply means no matter what you do, there will always be this distribution, Pareto distribution, that will see all will be only controlled by very few people. Meaning 80% of the wealth, does not matter which country. Be mindful, there are 200 countries. Does not matter which country, 80% of the wealth of that country will be only held by 20% of the people, and everybody else would be subject to that remainder of 20% of wealth. It does not matter whether it's Soviet Union, does not matter whether it's Russia, does not matter it's Venezuela, does not matter it's China. It is always the same. It's a law of nature, Pareto distribution. It will happen. Like how many people, let's say call center employees, how many employees' salary would be like this? Very little, very little. Some managers will get a little bit more, some branch manager will get a little more. Then you come to the granddaddy, the CEOs and all that jazz. They will be here. They will literally have 80% versus 20%. It will happen no matter what you do. People have tried to do this with games to figure out, is there a game logic to it? It happens in Monopoly. It's like there is nothing that we can do that can break this. That's why communism always happens, because this will always be the case where you have 80% of the population with 20%. So people are like, what if we take 80 from 80%? Here's the deal, that 80% will go away and everybody will be poor. And the next order that will come in after the starvation, after the rivers of blood, will be the same thing. That's happened to Venezuela, that happened to Soviet Union, that happens to China. No matter what you do, it's like for 5-6 minutes nobody will be rich, and after that the Pareto distribution will be like, I'm back, bitch. So this is one of the critical aspect. No matter what you do, no matter what you think. And same happens in companies also, meaning you have a company, you can have 100 employees, only 20 of the employees will be your main bulk force. Everything else would be like poof. If you ever wonder how the heck Elon Musk keep firing that many people and still somehow as a working company, that's the whole point. He understands Pareto distribution. Is that a good thing? No, it does make your company very unstable in long term. It's a good thing to do if you really want to catch up, but it's a really bad thing to do if you really want to become like a large name that survives for hundreds of years. That's not a good thing. So you have to know, these are facts. We cannot break it. So that means AI would be only handled by the people that are 20% of the population. And that literally, creates a scenario where that bottom 80% of the population would be stuck in a position where they genuinely will have nothing to do. And again, even like revolution, revolt and all that, again, it will just cause a lot of blood, lot of hululu, lot of hassle, and then it will be back to the square one. Then we come to the intelligence distribution aspect. Now this is even crueler. This is male domination, this is female domination. What does this mean? This simply means the IQ, dumb, super smart. Dumb, Einstein. So what you have, females have very good DNA code. So meaning they're generally focused on the center part, meaning average. Now that means the good part for women is like they will not be dum-dums. Women are like, yay. But that also means when you're talking about bonkers level intelligence, they will not have that. Again, be mindful, they could have that, but probability wise and in terms of large number, they will not have that. Well, like the number would be like for every 500 super hyper intelligent man, there will be one female. That number is mathematics, can't we do that? Women really like the dumb part, they don't like the smart part. But again, nature is fair. Fair. And here lies the cruel problem. This is natural intelligence distribution. Now, if you want a stable society, you want a line of job. Basically, how much intelligence you have to have in order to have a job, a productive outlook into your society, should be as close to here 0 as possible. Like let's say realistically, it should be around 85. People say that I am below that. So basically, I'm not that productive. So if you are below 70, good luck. Like really, really good luck. You're rarely able to do anything productive, like rarely. Now imagine this is current world, right? So we have a serious amount of people that are not doing anything, even if they want to do anything, but again, not too bad. Enough people are employed that they can socially create a cushion of the world, where like, we got this, like there is some stable structure. Now imagine the world with AI, where everybody who is below 130 IQ points, they simply cannot compete. They simply cannot look into the algorithms and be like, what the hell is this? And there lies the problem. You cannot train somebody to like, I'm just going to train harder. That's not how it works. Like, for example, we know for a fact that you can literally have 2 people go to the gym, have same quality of food, have exactly the same thing. Outcome will be completely different. DNA works that way. Same goes with intelligence. And you're like, no, training can solve any problem. Here's the deal. How many of you know how to read and write? Majority of you will say, yes, awesome. How many of you can read and write a novel? Here's the problem. You can teach somebody to write, but you cannot teach them what to write. And then same goes with art. I'm an artist. I can make 3D models. I can make environmental models. But the moment I touch ZBrush, my brain is like, I'm out. I can never even understand how the heck that software works. But you get it. Nah, I do understand it. It's just like I cannot draw anything useful out of it. I'm very good at hard surface modeling. Like CAD, that's my guy. The moment you put organics, I'm like, I'm out. So there lies the problem. You can teach me. Like I was taught, legally, professionally trained people taught me. And I actually had a job. I told you, worked in some very big companies like Sony and Microsoft and Overwatch. What is the Overwatch? I forgot about the company name. So I do know that, but even there I saw like some people were like, there was an intern that just came in. I saw his ZBrush skill. I'm like, I do not want to work in this industry. He was somewhere here, 130. It's like, damn. Like it was like he had 36 hours in a day. I only have 24. That's how big difference is. That's why you may think like, oh, that's not a big deal. Yeah, that's how a big deal is. Like think of this, like if you have a computer processor that's processing at 5 gigahertz versus your processor that's working only at 2 gigahertz, how the heck are you going to compete? You're not. So there lies the core problem. This line in the world of AI is going way too close to 130. And that's why many people who are wise enough, smart enough, and actually observing this problem, they are literally focusing for what we call universal basic income. And there is a very good reason for that. No matter what you do, you cannot employ a large amount of people in future if we have AI. So there lies the problem. High unemployment equals unsafe world, meaning if this line goes too close to that, let's say 115, too many people, like very large section of population would be poofed out of useful work. The moment they become poofed out of useful work, they become bad. Again, you need something to do. You need something constructive to create, do something. If those things are taken away from you, bad things happen. So where would be this crossover point? We are decades away from that. Now, how can we be damn sure about that? Well, here's the deal. Energy efficiency is not there. Our human brain is here. So, okay, let's call it X. How many, what percentage current chips are? It's not even the same level. Like you have to have X minus 50,000. Like exponentially, like our brain can do surprisingly amazing thing only with 20 watts of power. 20 watt will not let you do anything. Even image recognition will consume more than that. Like you will say, hey, Apple, and it's like, what about training data set? Like we can learn very quickly. That also another part. Learning, and if you see the power consumption that learning requires, like why do you think Tesla is building giant supercomputer with chips that have literally million cores? Why? That to train that AI. We are literally ability to split the AI part and the learning part, but still consumes too much power. So energy efficiency is not good enough as of now, as of me making this video of 2022. But be mindful, new advancement will solve it. For example, there are two ways that I'm seeing it. Quantum computer is unlikely to play any role into this, but optical computer does allow digital computer to work so fast that it can catch up with the analog field of our world, basically our brain. So a normal digital computer can only work at, let's say, 5 gigahertz, 10 gigahertz, hyper maximum. Optical can work at terahertz. So it can have enough oomph, enough brute force to actually do it fast enough where it's like, dude, that's AI. Or you can have, many people are looking into another approach where they are like, okay, we have silicon AI that is digital, then we are introducing analog AI into it, as in like analog circuitry into it to approximate some functions of our neuron. So you have analog side supplementing the digital side. That's one way of solving the energy efficiency problem. Another side is using photonics to solve that problem with speed. So right now, none of them are mature enough, but it will happen sooner or later. My estimation is 10 years from 2020. So by 2030. Now we are driving towards a dead end. Like I did say, like more than enough people are actually figuring it out. It's like, yeah, Amazon removed that many jobs. Now imagine Amazon firing everybody in their warehouse. All those jobs, poof. So that's one of those things that's very dangerous. And we have no actual solution that works. That's another. Like if you ask me how to solve global warming, there is actual solution for that. Like heck, we should not even have global warming if we had listened to Rudolf Diesel or Henry Ford. We should not have had this issue. But again, we messed up. Now we have to fix it. It's fixable, and the reason why engineers are still it's a problem is the reason is that everybody wants every politician, every public wants a magic solution. It's like, give me this, solve every problem, and every engineer is like, bro, that's not how it works. We messed it up with very big way. We have to solve it multiple small ways. Nobody wants to do that, so they're like, okay, we're gonna waste billions of dollars in fusion. So yes, like if you ask me like which of these problems are solvable, global warming, we will forget about it in the next 35 years, like how we forgot about Corona. But good luck trying to solve this puppy. This is far harder to solve. And people need meaningful employment. This is another aspect. Many times people are like, oh, who wants to do this bricklaying job? Here's the deal. It's important. You're like, okay, I'm going to take this job away and I'm going to give these people money just to like, sit there and all that. Here's the deal. They will enjoy it in first few days. Of course, everybody will. But after that, they'll go mad. Like here's the deal. Look at any practical person. Look at any wise person who was, retired. They will always do something. They will try their best to be productive. Of course, they will not work their ass off 12 hours a day. They will work only, let's say, 1 or 2 hours. They will be coaching institute, training, some consultancy work. They will do something to remain active. You do not want to be like, we are not born to be like, just to be dead. Because you have to work. You have to work. Again, you should not work to that. You're supposed to be like, I do some work, then I enjoy my life. I do some work, then I enjoy my life. If you ever create a scenario where just enjoy your life will become miserable. So even though these jobs are like, black color. Imagine a painting without a black color. It will not look good. So it's one of those things. It has to be there. Like nobody likes to do this sort of dangerous work, but it has to be done. Has to be done. And again, it's not only for, so Elon Musk can become even richer. That's a good point. But they will also become far more content, far more, and again, they will enjoy it. It's like, bro, Starship, you're like, bro, I worked into it. Here's my photo. That's awesome. Again, these people are also like, they are doing small contribution, but again, they know that they are contributing. That's keeping them sane. It's important. You cannot just throw money at the problem and solve it. And not to mention, majority of the people who do not know how to handle money. So that's the crossover point. That's why it's one of the most dangerous thing I am seeing. Like global warming, solvable. We can solve it. This puppy, I have no idea what to do about it. So that does scare me. So this was my presentation on AI versus jobs. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.